Coming up on UCF Metro Center Outlook, the final frontier is going commercial. Will that create a future for Kennedy Space Center? We'll explore that issue just ahead.
This program is made possible by funding from the UCF Metropolitan Center for Regional Studies, where government leaders, business executives, and academic experts come together to discuss major issues facing the state of Florida.
Hello everyone, welcome to UCF Metro Center Outlook. I'm Diane Trees, Director of the UCF Metropolitan Center for Regional Studies. The headlines coming out of Brevard County and the space industry have not been positive, and the news is likely to be difficult for some time to come. It's hoped commercializing the space industry will help, but will it be enough soon enough? Space Florida President Frank DiBello will be joining me to talk about that just ahead. But first, the most immediate issue is jobs. How does a space industry worker find new work? Alicia Callanan Mandigo spent a day in Brevard County looking for answers.
The Space Shuttle is an icon for the future. So is the Kennedy Space Center. But instead of representing breakthroughs, they now represent hardship.
This situation that we find ourselves in, we are going to feel the sting. There is no question. I mean, when there's a program that is retiring, I mean, there's certainly going to be an impact. However, this will not be what it was in 1975 with the end of the Apollo program.
The end of the shuttle program has put a lot of focus on job loss. There's no question finding new work for an estimated 8,000 space industry workers will be tough. But NASA and Brevard County are taking unprecedented steps.
The Brevard workforce provides training workshops as well as employment opportunities because employers within the region and from outside the region post job opportunities on their website. And we also have an internal website called The Voice of KSC where employees can find opportunities. But we don't set them off on their own to look for these opportunities. We host workshops both on KSC and off KSC so they can take advantage of someone assisting them in searching for job opportunities, be it on the standard employment websites like Monster or Career Builder or Hot Jobs, or through the Brevard Workforce site, or through the United States Office of Personnel Management, which has all of the federal jobs contained there.
But these things only NASA can do, not so many people can do this.
KSC isn't simply working toward reemployment. It's working toward reemployment here. Brevard needs its space industry workers as badly as the space industry workers need jobs, because those workers are key to attracting new business.
That workforce is a national treasure. It really doesn't get any better than that. I mean, here we can actually say that it literally is rocket science. These people are highly skilled. These people have quality control expectations and measurements and performance standards that are beyond anything you see in many other industries. I mean, when you're shooting a rocket into space, you've got to have that quality control in place. So this workforce that is here is unparalleled in many communities across the country. So we want to keep them here, and that's what we're working very hard right now to try to do.
The most obvious next step is the commercial space industry. Space industry workers sweating job loss may not realize just how much potential activity is headed toward Brevard County.
Unfortunately, because of the proprietary nature of a lot of the companies and where they are in their business development cycle, we aren't able to advertise. You'll see a lot of times with the different economic development commissions, they've got code names for certain companies and things, activities they've got. We've got similar kind of things, but right now we're looking at well over 40 companies that are looking to do some kind of business here at KSC. Bringing jobs here, bringing activity here, doing work on center, doing work right off center in our exploration park, even doing work here in the county, in the surrounding area, the Central Florida area. So there's a lot of activity, a lot of interest in the KSC capabilities and the capabilities of the workforce at KSC.
The end of the shuttle program doesn't mean that the launch pad is going to go silent. In fact, with commercialization, it's possible we'll see more launches than ever.
Guidance is nominal at max Q.
We would expect more launches here as the commercial industry starts to mature, and there's several reasons for that. One is that the architecture that we are planning for the 21st Century Space Launch Complex would facilitate what we call a clean pad concept, which allows multiple vehicles to use the same pad. And as a result, then, you don't have a lot of reconfiguration, a lot of things that you would have to do as a normal part of the process.
I don't think that Brevard County employment peaked out with the end of the shuttle. It's like any trend. It's going to have its ups, it's going to have its downs. It's going to be a tough couple of years. I mean, I think anybody who thinks otherwise is not being realistic. But as I say, there's a lot of opportunities. Virtually all the companies that you would know in the aerospace sector are trying to figure out what the next move is and how they're going to participate in it.
The issue is really the gap. How long is it going to take to realize actual jobs? And that's true across the nation.
The space race now is about bringing new industry to Brevard before it loses its workforce to other suitors. I'm Alicia Callanan Mandigo for Metro Center Outlook.
Brevard County is successfully attracting new business to the area, but some space industry workers may not be able to earn the same salary they're used to earning. With me now is Space Florida President Frank DiBello. Frank, thank you so much for being here today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Diane, and I look forward to talking with you.
Let's start by talking a little bit about the organization. What is Space Florida, and what is your role with it?
Space Florida is the state's organization responsible for the development of the aerospace industry in the state. And in that role, we're the Chief Economic Development function for aerospace. We manage infrastructure, are responsible for ensuring that the business environment supports the growth of the industry. We encourage research and technology growth in the state, and we are also interested in what's happening with the field of education in aerospace. So we try to affect all four to create a good business environment for attracting new business to the state.
Can you talk a little bit about the relationship that Space Florida has with KSC and NASA?
Most certainly. The space industry in particular is focused on three distinct market sectors. That which belongs to the defense and military establishment, the civil agencies, and NASA is included in that, and then the commercial marketplace. And NASA has long been the principal space activity in the state, the one that Florida most closely identifies with. We look at NASA as a mission partner, as a client, and we look to support them to achieve their mission in whatever way we can. And that can include complementing the infrastructure that they've got, assisting in trying to bring new research and technology roles for them, and helping in any other way that we can using the power of the statute that we have in Space Florida.
So it's a very symbiotic relationship, actually.
It is. They are really a partner in developing space in Florida.
You have over 40 years of experience with aerospace industries. I know you work with government agencies, private entities, federal level, state level. I would think with the different expectations, regulations, how does this all come together? I would think it would be difficult.
Well, I think with any organization like this, it has to start with having a vision for what you're trying to achieve for the state. And that was the first thing that I did when I came into office. And we set a goal to triple the size of the space industry in the state, and by the year 2020, which is a very aggressive growth goal for this industry, especially given the downturn that we're likely to face with the retirement of a major federal program, the Space Shuttle program. But we have a strategy for doing that, and I believe that we can do it. I think once you set vision, it's pretty easy to look at all of your markets and your clients and to support them. Make sure that you've got the right infrastructure and business environment to allow them to successfully grow.
You talk about having the vision and the strategy. You came to Space Florida in 2009, so it's not been that long a time. And when you came in, you made some sweeping changes. You canceled some contracts. You stopped work on some projects that you thought were impractical. What was the motivating decision behind what you were doing?
Well, I think that I was trying to realign the organization to meet the market. That's the fundamental principle behind any of the changes that I made. The vision calls for achieving that growth goal for Florida through diversification of the state space industry beyond NASA, but clearly to diversify it across 10 market sectors, and then to grow an integration of the supply chain in each of those sectors. We're going to be making prudent investments in each of those sectors, and the changes that we made were simply to align the organization to best meet the market.
You said on a number of occasions that Florida needs to diversify its industries and look for different sources of funding, and that space technology has a much wider application, and this is something that we really needed to capitalize on. Can you give us some examples of what you mean?
Most certainly. Space, as it is with several other sectors, is really a horizontal industry. And because space is difficult, when you push the edges of space exploration, you advance space technologies in many of those areas where space intersects with electronics or information technology or advanced materials, including biolife sciences and the things that impact our everyday lives. As a result, we need to look at space and the space industry in the state beyond just what NASA accomplishes or what the Air Force does with space, but look at all of the commercial applications of space technology that are present in our world. These include agriculture and food production, climate and environmental monitoring, coastal monitoring for interdiction and coastal protection, advanced materials, space tourism, biolife sciences, and there are many, many areas like these, all of which represent an application of space technology to new products and services and new companies. That's what we're after through diversification.
Now, are you talking about applications that are in existence or ones that you see potential to develop, or both?
We want to do both. We want to identify all of the areas where Florida has strength now and cause those to grow, as well as to attract new businesses to the state. Florida has an innovation future. One of the key legs of Florida's future economy will come through innovation. The space industry has already proven itself to be a catalyst for innovation in many of these areas. So we want to take the best that Florida has in its infrastructure and in its human assets and in its research and development capabilities and bring these to the marketplace to attract new growth, new companies, many of which in these sectors are growing at 20 and 30% compound average annual growth rates. They're the businesses of tomorrow that we want.
The new space policy under President Obama, a new national policy has been set forth. There's a heavy push for the commercialization aspect of it. Can you talk a little bit about this? What does this mean to Florida?
Well, I think it means a lot. The nation has always had a policy of commercial reliance wherever there is capability in the private sector to perform work and services.
Our capitalist
exactly.
Right.
And space, I think in the early days, has been the province of government primarily, because it was difficult and because it was really pushing the edges. But now many of those capabilities are resident in private industry. And as a result, more and more companies are discovering how to take an attribute of space and to capitalize on it to grow new products and services and to move us into new areas. That is the commercialization of space, whether we're looking at transportation, getting satellites or other payloads up into orbit, or whether we're looking at applications of those space assets to products and services here on the ground. All of that represents the new market that we want to face.
So you're actually, if I'm hearing correctly, you're saying that we need to take another look, another aspect of the space industry that's been there that perhaps we haven't just pursued in the past, and then build on that as to what our future is going to be?
I believe that that's true, and there are also a lot of capabilities that we have in the state that we want to leverage through collaboration and partnership. The simulation and modeling capability that is very strong in the Orlando area and in other parts of the state need to be meshed with capabilities that we have near the Space Coast and over in Tampa. There are capabilities that we have in aviation up in Jacksonville and over in Eglin and in the southern part of the state that we want to also combine. Space-enabled assets enable many new kinds of applications in all of these fields. So we're looking at those opportunities and trying to grow them.
You're talking then about a great deal of public and private partnerships, I would think, to make those aspects work and to make commercialization work.
There's no question in my mind. Thinking regionally, thinking beyond borders, and working in collaboration and partnership are the keys to making this diversification strategy work.
You've expressed some concern that the task that NASA is set for a heavy lift rocket and a capsule for $11 billion is not a feasible plan. Is it that you see it as a direction, a program direction that is perhaps temporary, and we're going to have more problems resurface down the line?
Well, I think the comments that I made were in the context of NASA attempting to, and the administration, trying to give NASA a clear goal and the nation a clear goal for what we want to achieve with the nation's space exploration program. Once we identify the goal, then it's possible for NASA and industry to work in partnership to identify the kind of equipment, launch, and other infrastructure that is necessary to achieve that goal. We want to, as an example, go to Mars, or we want to go back to the moon. And just because we've been to the moon before doesn't mean that it's trivial to return. We had difficulty keeping astronauts alive for very long periods when we were there before, due to radiation, due to a whole lot of things. Those systems were designed for short visits to the moon, but if we want to go back and exploit the surface or develop new technologies and use the moon as a platform for that, or we want to go to Mars, it's a long duration flight, and we don't have all of the technologies in hand today to achieve those goals, to keep the astronauts alive for that long duration trip. My concern was that we would take NASA down a path in the development of a new heavy lift rocket and under budget, underfunded, which means that we'd be asking the agency to do more again than it has the funding to do, and that sets the agency on a course for failure. So it is more an appeal to the Congress to identify the goal and to then properly fund the agency.
And there's been a lot of confusion. Yes. Frank, what is Exploration Park, and what is it now, and what do you envision it to be?
Well, I believe that the Kennedy Space Center has a lot of capabilities, infrastructure, laboratories, and other facilities that have real value to the research community.
I don't think a lot of people realize that either.
No, they don't, because it's been viewed as an operational center. But when you're doing operations, you're also fixing things on the fly. You have all of the labs and capabilities and essentially an operational knowledge. You're doing an operational engineering as you go, and those capabilities have real value. We see, as NASA is given a new mission, a next generation mission, the ability to develop an innovation center close to the point of launch that will attract a lot of companies who are interested in supporting the space exploration program, interested in exploiting the International Space Station now that we are near completion of the station. And we want to position Florida as the ground node for going back and forth to low Earth orbit and to supporting the exploration mission. Exploration Park is our attempt at an innovation center focused on that goal.
I see. You said that KSC has been described perhaps as an operations center and not a research center. As a result, I've read that it's going to hinder bringing new research in, and that it does limit our R&D dollars. Is that an accurate statement? And if that's the case, how do we change that?
Well, I think in partnership with the community, and I mean the broader community in the state and even in the Southeast region, there is a certain kind of research and development activity that belongs close to an operational center. As companies seek to go to the space station to exploit one of the attributes of space, which might be microgravity, many of their the research design of their experiments, the payload preparation to take them up, can all be done close to the point of launch, which is the Kennedy Space Center. And we see the ability to take, as an example, the Space Life Sciences Center, or other research capabilities that exist in Orlando, the Lake Nona Medical Complex, and many, many other bio-life sciences capabilities we have in the state, and to support companies, whether they be domestic or foreign, and even sovereign nations, in having some role in the future of space exploration.
Now, Florida offers limited R&D tax incentives to businesses. So even if the commercialization aspect takes off, as we're seeing, it has great promise, will we be limited to more of an operations base because of our limited incentives?
No, I don't believe that we will be. I think that we have to first ensure that we support NASA in whatever primary mission it's given for the agency. But then we can push, and we can push to attract other research and development activities to the state, because they naturally will thrive here close to the point of launch. The new governor, and certainly this legislature, are very focused on making sure that we do create a business environment that is supportive of the growth of not only new companies coming here, but the ones that are here, helping them to thrive. And I think that in partnership, all of the state's economic development organizations see that they need to drive the innovation economy, and we'll be working in partnership with them to achieve that. That means new incentives, adding to our toolkit. It means targeted investments in infrastructure and research and development capabilities, and many things like this.
You mentioned the state legislature. I know in the past, the last session, the 2010 session, $31 million was allotted to Space Florida. Can you comment on where that money will be used? Is it marked for emerging opportunities or retraining dollars? Because there's quite a difference in the two.
There's no question. There is a portion of that that was focused on workforce. That was $3.2 million to assist really in training workers for companies that have specific needs, and we want to move some of the aerospace workforce that's currently applied to shuttle to those market areas. But the majority of the dollars that we receive from the legislature are investment funds. We're charged with making prudent investments either in infrastructure or in the elements necessary to attract new business to the state. And the number one goal is job creation, and to grow those 10 market sectors that I was referring to.
Yes, yes.
So we're really focused on both near and long-term job creation.
You mentioned the strategy, the 2020 vision, I believe is what you're calling it, and clean energy was one of the markets that I saw listed. Can you, and you said this was a great opportunity for the state of Florida. What do you see as the synergy between the clean energy industry and the space industry that we already have here?
Well, I believe that space, again, enables advances in technology that benefit many sectors. Clean energy and alternative fuels are one of those. There's been research done on the station in materials and the growth of materials that are
now we say the station, the International Space Station.
The International Space Station, that are very supportive of the development of biofuels, There have been a lot of applications. No one knows more about handling cryogenics, hydrogen, oxygen, and other cryogens better than the Kennedy Space Center. And we have a lot of opportunity to advance the development of hydrogen capabilities, whether it be for hydrogen production, hydrogen storage, or efficient use that can be applicable to any of our fields of industry. We're working with a variety of solar applications, and what we're attempting to do is attract companies who might partner with the Kennedy Space Center or some of our industry and advance the technology and the manufacture of products in the clean energy area here in Florida.
Frank, we've talked a little bit about the advantages of the commercialization, but you brought something to mind here. In the past, when we've had technology come out of the space industry, such as WD-40, which we all have in our garage, what happens now when it's a private company who develops this? Will we have access to it publicly, or what are the economics? Will we be able to afford it? Because it's a different dynamics.
There are some different dynamics, but fundamentally, NASA, where there is capability in the private sector, NASA should be looking to turn to the private sector for purchase of those goods and services. One example is clearly the agency is finishing the completion and initiation of ongoing operations at the International Space Station, which is an international laboratory for conducting research and exploiting attributes of space. The ability to transfer cargo and eventually crew back and forth to the station is a capability that has been developed and is resident in industry now, and there are a lot of new companies that want to participate on a commercial basis in supporting the agency and other customers, the commercial players that will want to go back and forth. And we want to attract every one of those to operate here in Florida using the best of the assets and workforce that we have, the infrastructure that's very robust here in Florida, but also a very skilled workforce that comes out of the shuttle program that can support those commercial activities. There is another kind of commercialization, though, that occurs, and that's where we take defense or space technology and infuse it into a new product and bring that new product to market in a new application. There is an automotive product that we've looked at where the technology that went into the engine was a combination of defense and space technology. The frame is a very advanced lightweight frame using a lot of NASA technology, and we hope someday to be able to manufacture automobiles right here in the state using many of the workforce members that are now supporting the shuttle.
Frank, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure. I would come back anytime.
I've been talking with Frank DiBello, president of Space Florida, about the commercialization of the space industry. I'm Diane Trees with the UCF Metro Center Outlook. Thank you for joining me today. See you again.
This program is made possible by funding from the UCF Metropolitan Center for Regional Studies, where government leaders, business executives, and academic experts come together to discuss major issues facing the state of Florida.